you've made it to lesson 8. Congratulations. Be sure at the end of this lesson to go ahead and print off your certificate after you watch this video. And yeah, congratulations. You've almost finished the course. After this video, you will be good. All right, so let's take a look back at everything that we've learned, do a quick review. You remember way back in the beginning, we talked about the ways to change the sounds of music. We talked about the highs and the lows, and you have since learned the names of the keys, and if you see that written, you know whether to go high or low. Got that one checked off. Then we talked about louds and softs. Well, now you know about piano, you know about forte, pianissimo, forte, the F double F triple F, P double P double triple P for the louds and the softs. So we've got 2 points down. Then we talked about smooth and choppy. You have learned about the slur that connects 2 notes that are different or more than 2 notes. It tells you to play them smoothly. You've learned about the staccato dot, which tells you to pop off of it. By the way, there's 3 different ways to play staccato. One is to do like finger staccato if you're doing something quickly, and you're bending mostly at this joint right here to do that. Another one is wrist staccato, where you're bending mostly at the wrist. And another one that you see sometimes done in a big flourish is arm staccato, which is done bending right here. Do that kind of a thing, just in case you're curious. Okay, so we've learned about smooth and staccato, smooth and choppy, with the slur telling us to be legato, smooth, and the staccato telling us to be choppy. And we've learned about shorts and longs. The 2 things come into play there, the beat and the rhythm. So if you've got a slow beat, your notes are in general going to be a little longer. If you've got a fast beat, in general, they're going to be faster. But you've learned that the whole note means to hold it for 4, the dotted half means 3, the half note means 2, the quarter note means 1, the 8th note means hold it for a half of a beat. And you have corresponding rests to go along with those. So you've learned all about the types of notes, the types of rests, and beats and rhythms being fast and slow. We've also learned a lot of other written symbols. You've learned the sharp and the flat. You've learned the fermata that tells you to hold that one note. You've learned about time signatures that tell you how many beats are in a measure. You've learned about bar lines that start and end each measure. And you've learned about the double bar line at the end of the music. You've learned the repeat sign. You have learned a lot about music in these 7 lessons so far. So today we're going to start to introduce you to the written grand staff. Now, I'll be honest with you, the reading music is where some people get a major hurdle, and it just takes longer for some people to really get the concept and get notes learned. When I was a kid, I struggled with G and F. I kept mixing G and F up when I was a kid taking lessons, and it's just one of those things that eventually you get. So, but let me introduce you to the basic concept of our grand staff. Now, the grand staff in general looks like this. You've got 5 lines across the top, which creates spaces in between. Then you usually have a gap in the middle, and you've got 5 lines across the bottom with the spaces in between again. And each one of these lines and each one of these spaces matches up to one of the white keys on the piano. I like to think of it this way. If we take our piano keyboard and we draw a line up, say from the E and from the G and from the B and the D and the F, and then we come down here below middle C, we draw a line for the A and the F and the D and the B and all the way down here to the G, we would have our keyboard with these lines going up from them. Well, if we take that and turn it sideways, that's our grand staff. So you can see that every line goes to one of the white keys. And in between the lines, there are spaces. And every space goes to the white key that went in between the lines. For instance, the bottom, in the top set of lines at treble clef, the bottom line matches our E. The space is going to match our F. The line is going to match our G. Now, what about middle C? And what about this gap in the middle? Well, if we just did a series of 11 lines like this and stuck a note on them, it would be so hard to tell which line is which. So we have erased out the line for middle C, and then we have spread the top lines further away from the bottom lines. there's several reasons for this, but in your hymnal, that's where the words are. So you see that there's need for a gap there. However, we only erased one line. We erased the line for middle C. So when we want middle C, we put a little piece of that line in and we draw middle C on that little piece of a line. That's called a ledger line. Those notes on the top lines were the notes that were above middle C. So those are going to be your right hand notes because your right hand comes out that side of your body where those are. And the lines and spaces below middle C are going to be your left hand. That's where your left hand would naturally sit. So if they want your right hand to play middle C, they're going to put this little ledger line right underneath the top set of lines, which we call the treble clef. And they're going to put the ledger line there and put middle C there. Now, if they want your left hand to play it, they're going to draw that ledger line just above the bottom set of lines, which we call the bass clef. And they're going to put that middle C there. That middle C that's written above the bass line is right here. The middle C that's written below the top set, the treble clef, is right here. It just is telling you which hand to play it with. Okay? That'll click real quickly if it's a little confusing to you now. You'll see it in your music, it'll make more sense. Especially if you have words in the middle, then it's very clear, okay, that's a C for this hand because it's up here above the words and the other one's down below. So that won't be any problem to you. So we've got our lines and our spaces. Every line is going to match up to a key. Every space is going to match up to a key. And there are actually a lot of them, but don't worry about that because we've got a way to teach them to you that's going to make it easy. And that's going to be in the beginning of the beginner course. So every line on the music matches up to one key. Every space on the music matches up to one key. If you just want to start learning those now, we'll put a picture of that in with the PDFs for this lesson, and you can start to do that. Now, do not, if you have written anything on your keys to write music names, note names, anything on your keys, if you have the name of the key on it or anything like that, you need to get that off, okay? That will slow down your learning big time. It might make it easier for you to play this particular song that you're working on, but it's going to slow you down. If you're having trouble, just repeat over and over again. Go back to where you were learning them and repeat those flashcards. Repeat practicing saying C, 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 whatever it takes, but do not have any hints written on your keys, okay? That, I know it seems counterintuitive, but it will slow you down so much, so don't do that, okay? Now we mentioned that middle C is written on a ledger line. Those ledger lines are what allow us to tell you which note any of the keys on the piano, because we can put a ledger line above the staff, we can put a ledger line below the staff, and that just means keep going out as if there were lines written here and keep going out, line, space, line, space, line, space. So that's how, in case you're wondering, that's how we write these outer notes. It's one of the ways to do them. There's a couple different ways. So our final song that we're going to give you is If You're Saved and You Know It. This is going to be two hands with our thumbs on middle C. So that's where we're going to head. And we're going to start with the left hand. Here we go. G, G, C, 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 B, C, D. G, G, D, 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 C, D, E. E, E, F, 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 A, A, F. Now, this song is an example of one that's normally written with eighth notes. So we're going to give this one to you two ways. We're going to give it to you with the letters above and below the line, and then I'm also going to give it to you in notes. So the way I just played it is the document in the folder that has it written with the letter names above and below the lines. And then I'm going to also put in that folder the way it's written in most books, because most books include eighth notes. And the letters above and below the lines, it gets a little confusing if we throw a lot of eighth notes in there. So the other document's going to have eighth notes, and it's not going to have like C, G, G, C, hold, C, 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 C. It's going to have eighth notes. It's going to be like eighth, eighth quarter, eighth, 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 half note, dot. So it's going to look a little different. If you know the song, or if you've learned it using the letter names above and below the line, the other way is just to kind of get you used to how eighth notes fit into songs. Playing it on the notes with the letters on it is an optional thing for sure, but I think it would be very beneficial to you. All right, so this is lesson 8. You can now go print that certificate off and you can work on your final song. And again, check back or look below for the link for our beginner series. This is Sandy at Play for Ministry. I am so proud of you, and you should be so happy with yourself for having completed this beginner course. Please comment below, anything that you want. If you want to tell me how long you've been playing piano, or if you want to tell me, anything about yourself that you've always wanted to play, you took lessons as a kid, whatever you want, just pop a little something in there and let me know how this has gone for you. All right, we'll be talking to you later. Bye-bye.